All right, welcome to the Sae Bae cast number 236 with Mod Jerv. Mod Jerv, how are we doing today?
I'm good, thank you. Just relaxing on a sunny day. How are you?
Very nice. I'm doing great, and I am very much looking forward to this conversation because we got some visual elements. I have your art station linked up, queued up. This is all the concept art that most of the community has seen through the blog posts and everything like that. I actually just love it when Jagex gets to show off the concept art of things that are coming into the game.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, and so this I'm just absolutely looking forward to this, and I'm looking at it, and of course, in our DMs, you were saying like, there's always stories behind all of this stuff, and just your journey as an artist. So yeah, but I guess before we start jumping into all the good stuff, I want to ask you about who you are and how you came to work at Jagex, and I guess just your story with being an artist. Were you always an artist?
Wow. It's a broad topic. I've definitely always been an artist. I think it was pretty evident early on that it was where I wanted to go. But I didn't really know that concept artist was a thing until quite late in my life, to be honest. I went to New Zealand and I saw concept art for some of the new Rings of Power series and at Weta Studios, and I was convinced to go down that path. So I've always been an old school player. I played when I was quite young in 2009 and played for many, many years, stopped for a bit, and you know how they say you don't take breaks. No, you don't quit old school, you take breaks. So yeah, I got back into it and just kind of by pure chance, I ended up talking to someone to get a CV feedback or something, a one-to-one, and they kind of just said, hey, you should apply to this internship that they got going on. And I was like, you know what, fuck yeah, that's cool, that's awesome.
Oh, hell yeah. And when was that when you ended up getting that internship?
That was in, oh my god, 2022, I think. Oh my god, a long time ago now.
Yeah, I know it's crazy because 2022 feels like yesterday, but yeah, it's hard. It's been 3 years now. So
Yeah,
cool. Oh, wait,
yeah.
so you started in 2009 RuneScape, and you know what does? Here's, I guess, a question for you as an artist, because I feel like the design or like the graphics of that kind of pre-EOC era versus the classic sort of old school that we know of 2007 is definitely different.
Yeah.
And I just want to cross it by you because this is the interesting thing to me, because I started in 2004. Pre-EOC era graphics just do not resonate with me at all, and especially RS3,
Mm.
like it doesn't resonate with me because that wasn't like my first experience with the game. So these classic graphics that I'm seeing now are definitely like more up my alley. But I want to ask for you, because you started in 2009, what speaks to
Mm.
you more?
It's an interesting one because I definitely vibe with the 2009 style back when I started playing. But then I took a long break and I came back playing in 2017 when Old School had been released. And I tried jumping onto RuneScape 3, but I just couldn't really. I was too confused. There was a lot going on, so I just jumped on the Old School one, and I fell in love with the kind of simplicity that the style had to offer compared to what it was back in the day as well.
Mm.
Um, it's just kind of embracing the old classic feel of it, which much easier on the eye, truly.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I feel like maybe RS3 goes down. Um, I don't know. I mean, to be fair, RS3 still does have its identity of what the graphics are, but it really did feel like at a time, and this is coming from me, somebody who actually never played RS3 and really is quite ignorant to all the different styles in the game, like just the art style. But it does seem like
Mm,
they were trying to go down a route that was more generic MMO style, like the kind of
yeah,
fantasy realm of it.
I imagine so. Like, it's what was hot shit at the market at the time, and I feel like they were honing in on something a bit more akin to World of Warcraft and playing around for a while. And I think I know Mod Black Witch has been doing a lot of cool work towards synergizing some of the areas in game and kind of making it feel a bit less inconsistent. RuneScape 3 side, because there's like the whole mix of really old school stuff with some pretty fresh RuneScape 3 stuff. So it's been fascinating to see how the artist has been kind of working together to synergize it a bit more over the years as well. Because I agree, it's I think both games kind of have the whole consistently inconsistent thing about them.
Oh yeah, we got it pretty bad over here. It's not terrible, just because I feel like it never, the art never became too modern. But I will say, something that has kind of always irked me is like the classic look of trees. Like right now, I'm chopping a yew tree in game, and like I love just the classic look of a tree. But then you go to somewhere like Isle of Souls or somewhere else, and the trees end up looking like they're straight from Toontown. Like they don't have like
Yeah,
that texture. They're all like really smoothed out, and they're kind of swaying. I guess technically Nate is not was like the first those like Arctic pine trees is what I'm thinking of.
yeah, yeah. So which one do you prefer? Do you prefer the textured tree or the more modern
The
tree?
textured ones. Like the yew I'm chopping is perfect. Like that's master class
I'm
right there.
I'm on your side there.
Yeah.
It's a massive topic in the art team, which is quite a fun one. It's the whole textured tree or non-textured tree. I quite like the noise it provides. I feel like it adds a bit of like an even older feel to the
Hmm.
style. And I just like it a lot. So whenever we get tasked to like create new trees, it's fun to like to bring the texture back. You know, try out some newer trees as well.
Yeah, I know. I had Mod West on, and I think he was the one really taking lead of like the Shazian rework, and Shazian
Yes.
just looks gorgeous. It looks so good because that feel, like that really classic old school feel, is still there, but it does feel like a, I don't know, just I can't even say it looks more modern. It just looks very well thought out and designed. And I think with that old school art, along with some other new sort of textures you guys have kind of come out with, it works perfect. I love walking through
Yeah.
Shazian.
Oh, I love it. I think it's around that time that concept art actually Mudgrub was the first concept artist that joined, and he kind of joined around that time of chasing. And it was when someone with like a lot of background in art fundamentals, and we got some time to actually really apply that to just one area, and giving a lot of feedback back and forth on just how do we make this feel balanced with the colors, the values, and everything we got in game that is usually it's usually quite crusty. Like a lot of the old areas are quite crusty and it's not well thought out in terms of those kind of art fundamentals. So introducing that to the pipeline and finally taking a step to give it that attention to detail, even if it feels old school still, it just feels way more balanced than some older areas might feel. And oh, West did an amazing job on that as well. Just the attention to detail of that area is breathtaking.
Yeah, it looks phenomenal. And obviously Hosidius got the nice rework. I think Shazian just stands out a little bit more just because of that more like auburn type color that's going
Yeah,
on.
yeah, a bit more grounded.
Yeah. And I have just been dying for the rework to Piscarilius and Arceus. Arceus especially. Arceus, oh man, it just feels so desolate over there. Like it's bad.
Yeah, no, we've been talking about that a bit too. It's like, of course, we'd love to have a bit more time to give that place a bit more love, synergize some of the colors because there's some real sudden kind of like RGB, super blue, super. It's just a lot. It's a lot of noise.
Yeah, and everything's very spacious. I mean, that was just the biggest problem I think overall with Zaya release, was just how spread apart everything was for no real
Yeah,
reason.
it was tough. I think at the
Yeah,
time they didn't have that many devs on the art team, so
no.
trying to like get out a whole continent in such a short amount of time, you don't get as much time to put that tender the love into it, you know. So
Yeah.
oh, maybe one day. That's the dream.
Do you guys feel like you're given plenty of time and resources to design? I mean, it looks like it. It looks like you guys are just absolutely killing it on every front with the art that's coming into the game, all the designs of
Oh, wow.
things. But I want to ask like directly, like, do you feel like you're given exactly what you need now? Because again, years and years and years ago, it was clear they didn't have the time or resources.
Yeah, we it's a bit of a hit or miss to be honest. I think some projects we get a lot of time to really spend um spend that time taking it the extra mile. I think Tombs of Amascut was one of those where we really pushed for extra time, and it did it justice. Like, it looks incredible. But then recent years, it's there's a lot to create, and we are quite ambitious in the team, so it's hard to really allocate the right amount of time for each project that we do. So we try our best within the time constraints we're given, and sometimes we even work a bit extra just because we're quite passionate about it looking how we want it to look. And I don't know, I feel like the fun part is the challenge of trying to like make it as nice as possible within the time we're given, and the restraints that this god awful engine gives us sometimes.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Okay. So I want to jump into some of your work, but I will just ask this because it feels like no matter where you're working as an artist, you are making art, which is subjective. So people don't always agree with the style. And I want to ask you, do you feel like you're really able to design what you want to design without too much of that voice in your head potentially that's like, hey, like maybe people aren't going to like this? Like, how much are you able to let go of that and really just express what you want on the concept arts without getting too worried about how people are feeling about it?
Wow, that's an excellent question. There is definitely a bit of it's hard when you design for such a large vocal player base, and because of the subjectivity to opinion on art, it's kind of hard to really hit the mark each time for everyone. So, of course, there's a lot of weight on doing something like a best in slot kit or something new that people will be using a lot, or something meta in any way. And in those moments, I definitely feel I feel the pressure of it looking a certain way or hitting a certain mark. But usually, when designing, I think it's similar for a lot of the artists in the team, but it kind of comes from a place of nostalgia for us as well. Like, I designed from that place of when I played when I was younger, and the feelings I got seeing something new in the game and seeing something a bit wonky or a bit silly or something really cool, and all those feelings kind of come out when you design something as well. So I feel like I can trust myself, and I think the players trust us as well. And when we hit the mark, we get a lot of excitement and love from the players that really heightens the kind of pride we feel for all the work we put into, and it's all worth it because of it. So yeah, yes and no. It really it's hard not to feel the impact of what the players might think of something you work on.
Yeah, I imagine with best in slot stuff, that's where the real pressure starts riding, because you know you're going to be dealing with the
Yeah.
people that are most passionate about the game. We'll say passionate as the word, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, so and I've been one of those critics, you know, when I think when Masori came out,
Oh God.
that was one of the definitely the hot topics that
It was, yeah, it was my first best in slot as well with the
yeah.
Missouri. So
I apologize if I was one of the voices that maybe made you
no,
uncomfortable.
it's okay. I feel like we all go through it, to be honest, and we all have to go through it. It's like a rite of passage as an artist in the team. It's like you design something that maybe not everyone likes, and it's the whole like dance you do
Yeah.
with the players to try and come to something we all agree on. And it did kind of help realign myself a bit to what potentially the players might be actually looking for when it comes to grinding for something for hours and hours, and then they of course want to feel like real satisfied when they put this armor set on. So I get it, I
Yeah.
completely get it.
Yeah, and I do appreciate that you find. I mean, that's just that speaks a lot to you as just saying that's a rite of passage, because I feel like for many people, if they were to get so much backlash, potential, I don't know how much backlash was being given. Honestly, I was probably like the biggest voice talking about it. I think I made a whole ramble on it, but I mean, it's just cool that you can kind of just brush that off and just kind of evaluate just okay, so obviously you're making art for the player base and they're going to be speaking about it, but yeah, the stuff that you've made lately has really just impressed me. Like, I'm genuinely impressed with the art style that's been coming into the game, and obviously Varlamore has just, it's just so cool. It's a different style, but it still feels old school. It just feels like it just it captures exactly what Varlamore is. It's a brand new place that people really hadn't discovered, and it's just there's so many different themes to it. And yeah, I'm so impressed by it. I was telling you that obviously before the recording, but it really is true.
Yeah. Thank you. No, I think getting the opportunity to like design something for a whole new continent and a landmass that's like a once in a lifetime experience, especially for something as historical as Old School RuneScape. So it was like a massive task that a lot of the developers who were involved in it was just so passionate about the fact that we could do this and we could take the resources to create something great. And most of the impact is also on it visually looking like something so new as a whole landmass with a whole new culture, religion, and history and lore, all would still fit within the game that has been before. So it was such a fun task, honestly. So I'm glad to hear you liked it. Basically, that's awesome.
Yeah. So let's kind of rewind a little bit. So you were saying Masori was really your first sort of stuff you were making. So was it ToA release that was your first kind of project?
My first actual task was the Revenant Maledictus in the Revenant Caves, so the boss there. And I think the first stuff I did was a lot of Leagues. What is that? Leagues 3? Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, it's probably League 3.
Yeah, since I was just an intern, I got hit with a lot of the more trying to get used to the style in the beginning. And then suddenly Tombs of Amascut started kicking off, which was this massive thing, super exciting to begin with. Lots to develop. We had this the Miro board, like the place we gather all our references, was this massive, massive piece that would load and it sounded like your computer would like start taking off whenever you opened it. So we had to make a smaller Miro board for references and planning for Tombs of Amascut just because of the sheer size and volume of it all. So it was fun to like work alongside the other artists on Tombs of Amascut while that was coming together, and we'd all like get together and just sketch around and have fun with the ideas and within the realms of the lore and the resources we've gathered. And yeah, I think that was like my first big project to start working on was probably Tombs of Amascut.
So I actually pulled up another tab, and this is your Tombs of Amascut tab on ArtStation, and
Yeah.
let's cover this one first. This is definitely such a different take as just style than the other two raids. I mean, Chambers was obviously more simplistic. The team was smaller, and it felt sort of just like this cavern you're in with very basic colors across the whole, raid. And there's not much going on visually besides just what you see right as you enter. And then Tob obviously went way beyond that, and it really kept to like that sort of Mauritania sort of like blood/theater vibe, and that's cool the whole way through. But then you have ToA, which it really feels like I mean, obviously the rooms all have this sort of similar thematic, but then you go into Wardens and it feels like, whoa, like everything kind of changed. It got like way more like elegant kind of.
Yeah.
So I want you to kind of take us through sort of just what was on your guys' mind. I mean, how much work did you put into ToA versus the other art devs?
I think we all put most of our time into ToA when it came out, or when we started developing it. We were all kind of on it. We needed all hands on deck for this bad boy, basically. So it started off just as trying to work out what mood we want each of the pantheon and each of the bosses to give, and kind of circle and emphasize the rest of the rooms in accordance to what these like base pillars of the raids would stand on. So we wanted something kind of elegant, Egyptian, taking a lot of the stuff you see in the Caridian Desert and just to the extreme, something a bit more elegant, something that has a bit more love to it and a bit more detail to. And then, of course, with Amascut's influence on the whole thing. So we wanted to keep it fairly grounded throughout. Oh my god, it's been so long since I've spoken about Tombs of Amascut, so it feels like a distant memory. But it was such a fun experience to try and balance it all in each room. It was the time we really got to go a bit crazy. We didn't concern ourselves as much with making something modular, which is something that you can kind of copy and paste everywhere to save a bit of time while developing. We made a lot of bespoke rooms, a lot of bespoke NPCs and bespoke characters, and just spent a long time building this thing. And I think it was worth it. Like it made it more impactful when you got to really put that attention to detail to each room and to each boss and to everything, and to come out on the other side of like an incredible experience. So I feel like it played into the importance of it, to really spend that time planning it out, playing around, seeing what works and seeing what doesn't.
So I'm looking right here at the scabrous path concept,
Yeah.
the puzzles, and I'm curious, how much is being discussed almost simultaneously between the developers of the content versus the artists, because surely you as the artists are not really thinking of exactly what the gameplay is going to be like, but it feels like this whole room had to be completely like, it seems like a duo task. Like you can't really design the art quite yet until the actual design of the room is figured out, like how the puzzles are actually going to be solved. So how did that work out?
So that's kind of the cool thing about the introduction of concept art is that Grub and I, obviously, while we do the designs for the game and the visuals, we also do a lot of the communications with the devs beforehand. So now we could go in first and really think about the design and how something would look and make it really work with the old school style and also the lore and everything, and take it all into account whilst talking to the devs about their thoughts behind what they might want to do with the puzzles or what they might want to do with any of the game mechanics related to the raids, and really try and nail that down visually as well. So it kind of it acts as like a sandbox almost. Like we get the time to really explore and have fun with something, and you get visual ideas throughout while developing. So with the Scabrous path, we actually had a gray box which West has made, kind of like very basic looking 3D block out and mapping of the room that the developers would be kind of playtesting their mechanics in. And as that was developing, we could start kind of drawing on top what do we want each puzzle to look like, and what is each puzzle. And so I think we went through quite a few different puzzle variants in that room before we landed on those. And it was cool to explore a bit of it visually as well while the developers were thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was the best puzzle room in ToA. This one really felt like a puzzle, and it felt quite quick.
Mhm.
And it does have just a really cool theme going on to it. And so was it who was like the lead designer of this puzzle room in particular? Do you remember, or was it really just a team effort in brainstorming this?
I do not remember,
Okay.
but we definitely work through this all as a team. So there's a lot of back and forth with a lot of the developers on each of the puzzles.
Yeah, this was just great though. It was a really cool. I know people, players have their own issues now with the idea of puzzles in raids, just because it feels like it can slow it down. But this was the best of the 4 puzzles, because it really was a puzzle and it felt quite quick to just solve. So
I liked it too. We had an ambition of like, you see it in the concept on the left side. I filled it up with little bugs kind of swarming, and we wanted it to feel a bit more time sensitive, where you have like a massive swarm of these scabrous kind of slowly seeping in through the room, to like give you this sense of urgency to try and get through the trials of this room. But obviously our engine does not allow that kind of stuff. That's very ambitious.
That's one of the sad things, is like my fantasy of like an update, whenever there's like a blog post or I'm just imagining what could come out, it's always just way over the top of like what the engine could actually handle. Because I was one of the ideas actually way long ago on a cast was talking about that kind of Indiana Jones style of like a ball like rolling towards you, and you got to like do it. I just don't know if, I mean, I guess we kind of added that with Baba, these like
Yeah,
little
yeah.
boulders rolling, but it wasn't the same as like, okay, you have to solve this puzzle now before this thing squishes all of you.
Yeah.
So
Oh man, we battle with this every day. It's
yeah.
like we really have to work within our restrictions, and it does make it fun because the most creative ideas come from that kind of restricted space to play within. So I feel like yes, we can't do everything we ever imagined, but that kind of makes it unique because you get something that's a bit unexpected but kind of cool. And when you know the limitations of the game and the engine, and you see something that's really pushed, it makes it exciting. Like we had that with the Warden death animation that mod
Oh,
Brow. Oh my god, work done. And
that's one of the coolest animations that you're talking about. Like,
it's
once he
incredible.
fully dies and he's like
Yeah, yeah,
flying
yeah.
back. Yeah.
It's incredible, and it took so much. Like you need to come up with some crazy solutions to make it work, and I couldn't do the explanation of it justice. But I think it took a bunch of NPCs kind of stacked after each other and perfectly uh, aligned to get that cascading effect. But oh, it was incredible. And when someone pushes the engine in this kind of way, where it creates that kind of impact, it's crazy. So it's so fun to it's fun when we get the time in the art team to really try that out because it's always worth it. It really is.
That is one of the coolest animations, honestly, thinking about it now. I mean, that is really pushing the limits, it seems like. And even the floor, just that whole Warden's phase where the floor is being pounded and the
Oh
tiles are
yeah.
moving really smoothly. Like that's awesome.
I don't know how
Yeah.
that one came to be. I just remember we were talking about how do we make the arena feel smaller for the final phase of the boss fight, and
Mm.
I think Mud Rai made that work, and I have no idea how he did it, but I remember losing my shit when I saw it at work. I was like, oh my god, this is incredible, and it feels like you really feel like you can't stand here too long because it feels dangerous.
Oh
I
yeah.
was just so surprised.
It's so
Gosh.
cool. Everything in there just looks great. And so the style of it looks like quote unquote warped room. That's the one where it gets all crazy.
Yeah.
What exactly is going on there, like lore wise? Like why does it turn all dark and it almost looks like you're in space, kind of.
Yeah, I'm curious how much I'm actually allowed to reveal here, because there
Ooh,
might be plans for this in the future, which I know,
okay.
but it's
That might have already been a reveal. Now I'm like brainstorming of what it could possibly
yeah, that's it's
lead
been
to.
so long since we've spoken about this, so I think I'll say that it's to do with Amascut's corruption. You kind of see it in the first face of the room that some kind of corruption is beginning to take place, and you see something's a bit off in the back. And
Oh
then the
yeah.
final room, you do see a Masket's shadow in the distance, kind of slurping up the debris of the whole arena and destroying it. Like she's destroying the arena, and you see the impact of that in the arena itself. So it's just that in that final phase, it's the Masket's corruption taking hold of the environment.
That is so cool. How much do you guys know of future stuff that's coming out? Like things that you can't reveal, but like how long does the team's game plan really stretch out? Are you guys always thinking, oh, okay, like this next iteration will come out in several years. We're not exactly sure when, but we got to keep, our mind kind of like in that, I don't know,
Yeah,
space.
there's some of our roadmaps go like years ahead, like an estimate idea of what we want to release in like 2027 or whatnot. But I think the more fun answer to this question is that Mod Ed has planned almost every quest storyline already, so you can kind of poke him at parties about what this next content will be, and he'll go on a deep dive into the lore of that content if you really ask him. So some devs are so passionate about the quest lines that they have already planned stuff years and years in advance, even if it's not going to go in the game for a long time. I think Mod Ed started planning Varlamore and hinting towards a lot of future content years and years and years ago. So stuff. We've thought about it for a long time. But sometimes the shorter releases that are a bit more of a quick win, they're more in the spur of the moment with a bit of planning behind it. So it really depends.
I love Moded. He is just
He's an
perfect for
enigma.
the
I
lore
know.
guy. Yeah, really. Um,
He's awesome.
so I'm looking now at Akka's boss room concept, and this was so different, it feels like, because it's a circle. Like, where do you ever see circles in this game that are
Oh,
like
yeah.
actual circles? So how did this end up coming to be?
Most of these rooms were kind of planned, like grey boxed already, in terms of the feel of the boss fight. They knew for Akka that they wanted this kind of a sectioned arena where you had to kind of run between these symbols, depending on which one they kind of did that wave attack on first. Frankly speaking, I've never done the Akka boss fight or any of the raids,
Hmm.
so I don't remember the mechanics entirely. But each boss room was themed around the boss, and they all had this lore to them. So Akka was all about time. So we wanted something to do with a sundial, an old Egyptian style of telling time, and also we had a few elements of sand, like a hourglass kind of element going on
Yeah.
about it, just to get that feeling of time passing. But when I think Mudbrow put that circular arena in, and we were all like, "Oh my god, I don't think I've ever seen a circle this perfect in my life." Um,
Yeah.
how do we start designing for something like that? It's not, and it was fun. It was fun to try something new. I think it made it quite impactful as well.
Yeah, it's definitely like very distinct of a room. It's unforgettable, and the hourglasses are just a wonderful touch to it. It's so cool with the sand and everything.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm a fan of that. And then Baba, obviously we kind of touched on. I'm just scrolling down to the end here, and I love the theme of it. It reminds me. I doubt you. I don't know. Maybe you played this on the PlayStation 1. There was a game, Crash Bandicoot Warped, and the first like boss had a tiger named, I think his name was just Tiny Tiger. I honestly can't even remember these names, but he had a boss fight where there's 5 different little cages, I guess, where like lions would run out. So there's like 5 of them,
Ooh,
and so it feels exactly like this fight where there's 5 boulders rolling down, but they were lions
that's
that are just
cool.
running past you. And so this just completely was like a nostalgia hit for me, and I love the whole concept of it. Is great.
That's
What
cool. Thank you.
what was your favorite out of like the rooms? I guess like the normal boss
Ooh,
rooms, not wardens. I would say almost wardens just looks almost like the most insane. But out of the normal 4 bosses, what was your favorite?
wow. Because I just assigned 2 of the boss rooms. I think Grub did the other 2, and I really love uh, his Kefri boss room a lot. Because you kind of go into the lecture hall of wisdom, which is the whole idea behind Kefri, and then the whole puzzle room beforehand is this library filled with scrolls and puzzles you have to make yourself through. But to answer it on behalf of the concepts I did, I think I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Um, I quite liked the Akka one, to be honest. It was a fun challenge. So I'm quite happy with how it turned out.
Nice. Okay, now I'm looking right down here at the end. Obviously, we see the Pantheon, Atmakin, Het, Krondus, and Scabarus. And I love the design of them. They're all very distinct. They have that desert design. And then we see what Masori came to be and the shadow and everything.
Yeah.
So, how do you feel about? So again, there was multiple iterations of that Masori, and to be fair, like it was kind of hard. I can imagine to design something that feels like a best in slot range armor that
Yeah.
is going to be different than Armadil, and it has a different like it has like a desert theme going on. So you already kind of know what this should kind of look like if it's going to be thematic to the raid.
Yeah.
What were your whole like what was your thought process on designing this best in slot range armor? I know there was a lot of pressure on it.
It was difficult because the fortified version is combined with plates of the Armadil armor, so it's almost like I the Armadil armor is like iconic, but it looks a bit silly. We all know this. We all know and love the bird helmet, but you couldn't get away with doing something like that nowadays. Usually,
Wait, you
be an
mean the player
outrage.
base doesn't want to look like a bird?
Um, probably someone does like looking like birds. I don't judge. But yeah, with this one, it was kind of hard to really pin down what a ranged armor would look like, especially in the context of something that feels a bit Egyptian. I know the players are used to seeing armor kits that are either a bit more fantastical or a bit more grounded in medieval, like more Western medieval armor sets and stuff. So coming up with something that's Egyptian and make it feel impactful when people are not potentially as used to seeing this kind of armor was kind of hard. It was really hard to balance. I remember Grub went few. He made a few iterations on what the armor might look like, and I did a few iterations. And the first round obviously didn't hit that well. It was taken too much from Armadillo, and some of the proportions of it just felt a bit awkward. So I thought about taking it kind of back to with snakeskin arch, like ranged armor. Taking the skin of sounds fucking horrible to say, but taking the skin of Sae Bae and putting it onto this armor kit kind of helped do like a full circle of best in slot ranged armor. That was like the thought process behind introducing Sae Bae's hide into it.
Mm.
And I really liked the first, the one you see on the left, the non-fortified version. I really, really enjoy. I feel like you see the scales in the torso.
Yep.
You see this kind of shawl thing on the head with some kind of hint towards something metallic on the head. Feels bird-like, but it's not too on the nose. And it has elements of like flowing fabric and golden notes, and it also has those like famous arrows on the side of the leg as well. So I felt like that one really hit the mark. But then fuck man, trying to balance and introducing many elements to one tiny kit when we only have so many polygons to play with was really, really tough.
Yeah.
So I do, while I like the design it ended up on, I feel like it became a bit too much perhaps with the fortified version, and I much prefer the first one.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I love the first version. I never got to rock it because I already had Armadillo, and I wasn't just going to go purely off aesthetics, but I do agree. I think there is just a lot less going on. I think obviously people I think the fortified, now that it's just been in the game for so long, I do actually quite enjoy it. I think it's just a little bit strange to, I think on release I was just a little bit like I don't know, I couldn't quite accept the gold with like anything. It just felt like gold was just such a hard thing to like really nail down with other colors. But now that I look at it, it does have that sort of desert theme, and it's not, I don't know, I think it actually contrasts pretty well now that I look at it these days.
it's hard with like sometimes stuff and designs, they need to like stay in the game for a tiny bit first to kind of build that important feeling to it. Like when you just see a design before you've grinded through the whole raids, working towards getting enough purple chests to finally get this armor kit, the impact of the armor is just not the same as when you finally get it. It's been in the game for a while. You've seen people run around with it sometimes, and you're like, shit, that looks cool. I want something like that. And then you get it for yourself. And then an armor kit might feel like it feels a bit more in place than when you just see the concept art before all that kind of emotional all the building you've done to get there. So it's a tough one with art to balance those first impressions with. We just want to say like trust it, like just try grinding out for it and see if you feel it's impactful, and most likely it will be.
I want to get your take on symmetry when it comes to art, because as a non-artist, I definitely really appreciate those classic armor set. Like right now I'm rocking my BCP in game, and I just love the heavy set shoulder on one side and then not much going on the other. And I love, this left side, the unfortified version where it does have a sleeve that's different than the other. And that obviously kind of makes sense in an archery perspective. I think there's like an archer's guard that you can kind of wear, and it feels natural to have that. But then, you got even like the cloth on the legs that isn't completely symmetrical. It's not covering both legs the same. And Just how is there like an actual theory behind this asymmetrical stuff? I mean, Torva is just completely like symmetrical as far as I'm
Yeah.
aware. It's just it almost looks jarring because of how like perfect it looks.
So that's a really interesting question actually. Let me think a bit about it. I feel like it depends on how you use symmetry in art, because specifically with the first iteration of the Masori kit, it helps amplify certain sections of the design in a way where you see the exposed arm on the one side, and it makes you really notice the one covered in Sebak's hide on the archer's arm. Um, and it kind of feels like one of those archer's gauntlets that kind of protect your forearm from
Hmm.
getting smacked by the bow. Um, and with something like asymmetry on the leg is used in this case to expose uh, the arrows on it. And it helps lead the eye up to the rest of the whole composition of the design as well. So I feel like asymmetry can be used in a way to really help pull the attention towards the areas you want the attention on. Like with bandos, you have the massive spiky shoulder plate, which is like the oomph of it all, but it wouldn't feel like such an oomph if it wasn't for the other shoulder not having that, you know? So it helps it helps balance focal. And I feel like if something is completely symmetrical, you know what you're getting and you feel kind of safe in it. So I feel like that makes sense for something like Torva, where you feel safe in that armor, basically.
Yeah.
So, it's all about feeling.
Yeah, for sure. I'm curious. You know, are you ever thinking of the kind of mixing and matching of different armors while designing something? I feel like that. I mean, I'm just gonna throw it out here because I love the look of Oath Plate armor in its current iteration that I've seen. I love the black and white version. I think it just looks phenomenal. But now there's people like saying, well, we're going to be rocking it actually with a Torva helm, and this doesn't look
Yeah.
that good in the concept art. And, you know, people will have a problem with that. So I'm just curious on your end, are you ever thinking of like, oh, how's this going to look with maybe something else that's going to be used?
It's always raised when we design an armor kit. It's always raised how it will look with the current best in slot gear for the other slots. And
Mm,
we always do check, but it also is it's very limiting. If you have to always abide by that rule, then every armor kit will have the same kind of color palette, which is the whole like, oh, why is melee always black and red? Well, it's because of this. Like, it's a constant battling with something looking a certain way to match all the gear that's been before. So when Grub did his first iterations on the Oathplate armor being red, and then tried a version that's more white and gray and black to kind of tie it to the what's that version of the scythe called? The holy version or
yeah,
the
holy kit or the
yeah
sanguine or holy, yeah.
yeah yeah one of them, the lighter version of it.
Hmm.
So it was kind of made as an attempt to start bringing in those kind of color palettes into the melee armor kits and stuff. So I feel like sometimes we just gotta break the matching everything thing a little bit to see if we can introduce something that feels new. Even if it's a bit painful and mismatchy, that will sometimes just be the case. But it's ever changing, so it's kind of hard to want something to match one thing, and then maybe in a few months' time you get a new best in slot glove kit or best in slot boots, and it's then all that matching was for nothing, you know. So it's a hard one to balance, truly.
Yeah, well, I think you guys are nailing it. I'm a pretty big fan of pretty much everything that's come out, and I'm especially looking forward to Oathplate that's coming out. That looks great. So
Me too.
let's move on to Desert Treasure 2, which is just so crazy because all four of the bosses are so distinct. They're so different, and you know, I want to hear like the whole story behind this. Where do these ideas even arise? Like, are these things that you're thinking of, or is there already somebody that's like, we're kind of thinking of a boss like this? Like, how does any?
Mm.
I'm just looking at Vardorvis, this first slide right here. What?
Yeah.
Who imagined this? Was it you? Like, this is insane.
It's a joint effort, definitely, because a lot of the lore is usually established by Ed already.
Mm.
So he had a few ideas of what he wanted the bosses to be, but in terms of actual visuals for it, that is up to the concept artist and the art team to kind of discuss together. So I know with Vardorvis especially, they wanted like this uh, basically an executioner who was killed but then overtaken by the parasite in the stranglewoods around it. So Grub and I were initially playing around with, because Grub played around with what the stranglewoods would look like, and we were taking a few different variations on what the actual parasite would look like uh, before we ended up on the kind of red tendrils that you see in Mardorvis's design and in the stranglewoods now. So it kind of came together through a lot of different conversations with many people involved. And then you see further down on this post, I did some first iterations which were more blood-like and a bit more,
Ooh, yeah.
yeah. And that was probably hard for us to get in the game because that kind of specularity that you'd want for this type of, just to make it feel right, just wouldn't work as well. So Grub and I went a bit back and forth on what the Strangler parasite would look like, and we landed on something that was the sketch on the right side there. And from there, it was just kind of Ed was like, "Fuck yeah, no, this is what we want." Vardorvis was a pretty easy win, to be honest. I think we all kind of saw that one working pretty well. I
It-
really enjoy that one. Feels quite Bloodborne like, and
oh yeah,
oh,
totally. It looks
yeah.
so good. This is actually a great time to ask. What games or things in general? It sounds like Lord of the Rings is a little bit of like, up your alley as well, where it comes to just
Yeah.
what you're taking from. But what is the kind of stuff that you are always taking from as an artist, like whether it be games or movies or just any sort of media like that?
Oh wow. I my personal taste in art is definitely so innately different from what we do at work that it's kind of hard to. I definitely enjoy horror games and horror films, and anything that's kind of like weird and bizarre and a bit abstract. So Lynch's work is one of my main inspirations behind my own work that I do. So, but in terms of what we do for Old School, we take a lot of inspiration from just Lord of the Rings is a massive one, of the feelings that Lord of the Rings brings and how well established the visuals for each of the races are, and each part of the story. It's fascinating. So yeah, yeah,
You know,
definitely varies.
I have to say, with Lord of the Rings, I mean, I know we already have Mithril in this game, but when when Bilbo gives Frodo the Mithril chain body, uh, I'm just always thinking to myself, like I'm obsessed with chain bodies in this game. I don't think like we ever get enough of them, and
Agree.
even just like the classic chain that just looks like a block you're wearing. I mean, it literally makes you look like a Lego guy, but
It's hilarious.
it is. It's so classic. But I would love if we got some really defensive sort of like chain body that's very simplistic. Maybe it looks a little bit more modern than what we currently have with the chain bodies, but something that's also sleeveless and
Yeah.
just offers some crazy protection against maybe a certain type of monster. Like I would love to go down the med helm and the chain body arc. Like
Oh
I
no,
want that.
I totally agree. When I so for the what's that armor kit called from Varlamore, the Colosseum? The
Um,
Sunfire Fanatic, I
yeah,
tried to
yeah.
play a bit around with bringing some elements of chainmail, and we try sometimes, but it's such a hard thing to work with the chainmail. It's the reason the torso is so blocky, like a Lego man, is
Yeah.
because it's easier to have that kind of topology with that amount of detail on it on a flat surface. So it's like super difficult to introduce something like that in. Although we do try, like the mysterious figure from Desert Treasure 2 has a bit of chainmail elements to it, and I would love for that kit to be in the game. I think rocking that kind of chainmail with a robe on top would just be sick.
You said
So
mysterious figure.
yeah, the
Oh,
pursuer.
I see him. I'm looking at him right now. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That
yeah,
it's so cool that you guys are still capturing that classic chain body vibe. I mean, that is the classic texture. You're not
yeah.
you're not going overboard.
Oh,
So
we gotta
yeah,
embrace it.
yeah,
It's been established as chainmail, so it's good to just keep that going.
I have to bring up, this is not exactly chain stuff, but third age range armor. I love this sort of checkered design. I think the third age range top is one of my favorite pieces of third age. Just because I love that. Like, I love the kind of just chunkiness, like out of control chunkiness. Like, if you were to have made like Masori this, I think people would be like almost outraged by how insanely chunky it is. Just
You
one
don't
of the
get away with this kind of stuff nowadays.
yeah, but like this is awesome. Like, I love how just very bold it looks. It reminds you of Bandos again, where it's just very like simplistic but bold, and it's got the checkered kind of element. This is the kind of stuff, and I'm just obsessed, by the way, with like the kind of white and the forest green look. This just works so well. So if even if it wasn't necessarily chain bodies down the line, but something that's
Something
really
akin to.
utilizing something like checkered design just looks awesome.
I agree. We do tend to play a bit around with it. I think for the mixed hide armor for Varlamore, we played with some kind of padded top, which is quite common in Aztec cultures for fighting. And I know that Grub played with like proper studded, leather plated tops for the Fremenic warband and stuff as well. So it's like
Oh yeah.
more like that, you know, like it's awesome when you really play with different ways of armor that's not just the usual plate body or leather, or but you're actually trying to think about how it's actually constructed historically as well. It's exciting when we do get to kind of get that in. More like it, definitely.
Mixed hide is one of my absolute favorite pieces of armor that came into the game. It's so simplistic, and it just looks so natural. It just looks cozy. Like, it's so good. I am just all about it. I didn't even know it was an actual like good armor set for mid game irons. That's what I love so much about it as well. Is it feels like something that can be achieved slightly earlier on, so you actually can
Yeah,
utilize something like this for a bit. It's so cool. It
I
looks
was really
great.
happy to see that. I think I watched someone play through the last leagues, and they got this armor, and they basically used it for most of it because it kind of just worked. And I was so happy to see it because I wasn't sure if it was going to be used a lot because it's quite niche, but obviously the Iron Men got to do what they got to do, you know. So
Yeah.
I'm happy to see it be used.
I mean, we're definitely going to be touching on Varlamore and the Moon's gear, which we'll get to eventually. But let's take a detour back to the Desert Treasure,
Mm,
and I want to cover now Whisperer. Whisperer, I love the pet, by the way. That pet is so cool because it's so mini, and it's got little teeny tentacle legs, and it doesn't have an underglow. I love it when pets don't have underglows because
yeah,
I feel like it just becomes too chunky if you zoom out too much. It's like there's not
yeah.
that contrast. So huge fan of this. Let's get the whole story behind Whisperer.
Oh my god. So we do have sirens in the game already, but we wanted this one to be corrupted by those. I think it's revealed to be Sautak in the Lasar Undercity, the kind of shadowy side of that whole place. So we needed a version that was a kind of normal but kind of corrupted siren, and then the one that was completely corrupted when you flip the boss fight to be into like the underworld or the kind of shadow version of the world. Um, and it was this whole you see it prominent through the whole Lasar Undercity, and trying to kind of capture that in the boss itself. We wanted to make the most amount of contrast here when you go from like the normal version to the shadow version of the boss fight. So really going crazy with the silhouette and playing around with how crazy we can look her to make her look. I mean, um, and I took inspiration from my own culture actually, because I'm from Norway. We have this sea creature called Nukken, which is it's basically the sea creature that lurks in the sea with its eyes poking up, staring at you, and lures you in to eat you. And
Hmm.
I wanted to kind of get that feeling through the design itself. And while that would be hard to do for the whole time, I know my previous sketches of the Whisperer, I tried to get that feeling of her being kind of underwater, and how could we potentially do that and make it feel natural? And that kind of just ended up being more of how we place the colors to make it feel right. But we actually ran into a lot of issues with the color range for the Whisperer because the light blues, we don't have all the colors. We just don't have all the colors in the world. So trying to find the right colors for this was really hard.
Hmm.
So I remember Mod Sofan ran into a few issues with trying to like actually match the concept, and we had to go a bit back and forth with this.
Well, I'm still a huge fan of Whisperer. It looks so cool. It's such an interest. It reminds me of Maiden of Sugadinti, if I'm pronouncing that right, in Tob, where
Yeah,
she's like the blood version. This is more like the water darkness version.
yeah. Oh, I definitely took inspiration from her when I did this because they're both like horrifying.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
how do you get that right while still feeling kind of feminine but like siren like as well? So
Yeah.
it was such a fun one to balance. And when Ghost did the animations for this, he added this super cool effect that you see only for a split second, but when she glows, she becomes transparent and you can see her brain and her gills and her lungs and everything inside her body becomes visible for a moment. And I remember thinking, fuck, that is so, so cool. And I kind of wish we leaned more onto that with the design itself. But I am happy with a bit more of a muted element of the final design, so that can kind of come across as a bit of a higher contrast.
Yeah. Ooh, that would be so cool for a future boss as well. Having it maybe have two
Translucent,
phases
yeah.
where like where like an entire phase has that translucency to it. That would be
That would be
cool.
so cool. Yeah, I agree.
This
All for
is
it.
this is something I'm actually curious on because I'm gonna skip briefly over Leviathan. We'll cover it right after, but I want to go to Duke. Duke is one of the most. I mean, if we were playing a game with like the Unreal Engine, I mean, this would just be truly disturbing to see. Like if I was playing Elden Ring and then we had to kill a Duke like this would be just horrifying. But because we're playing old school, everything ends up just being kind of cute. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I'm curious for you, like, are you okay with these truly monstrous ideas that are actually very dark when you hear the lore and everything else? Are you kind of upset almost that it ends up coming across in game as sort of kind of cute rather than just like this is dark?
Oh, it's that's a great question. The horror enthusiast in me says yes, but also there's a certain element of it's why those old horror games that are kind of low quality are a bit scarier. It's when stuff is left to the imagination. So when you design something like this that on paper sounds pretty fucking terrifying and the design elements themselves are pretty scary, but then you look at him and you can't help but think he's huggable, like he's kind of cute. It's really hard to balance. It's tough. It's tough, man. I'd love to design something and make it feel scary, but also the question is then, is that innately old school? Is something
Yeah.
entirely scary? Does that feel old school? And no, I think the balance of something being still kind of lighthearted is the whole essence of it.
Yeah, I like that. I do appreciate it because if you want to use your imagination, you can really think about how really disturbing this actually is. And
Exactly.
I think the concept art, I think what's coming to mind right now is the concept art of Nightmare initially. Like that was terrifying. But then when you're actually fighting Nightmare in game, it's not as disturbing. But I just remember those initial designs was like, Jesus, this thing's actually a nightmare.
Oh, I gotta see these. I don't think I have.
Yeah, it might have been. Let me see if I can pull up the Nightmare concept. It might have even been a fan art of it. Let me see. Oh, I think
I've,
it's. I think it actually just is the cover of it that I'm
oh,
thinking
the
of.
promotional art. Yeah.
Maybe it was. I think somebody went crazier on it though. It might have been fan art. I think it was the fan art was this sort of whole like cover of it, but it was redesigned by some guy, and
Oh, interesting.
it was scary.
It can be scary. It's like I kind of like the openness it provides for the creators out there to kind of take it further and try something out with their own art of it. because I find the nightmare kind of creepy in its animations already, with
Yeah,
how it like
for
twists
sure.
and turns, and it feels kind of sporadic and a bit hard to expect what will happen next, which is like the perfect feeling of a nightmare. So it has that going on, but it doesn't look as scary as the promotional art does, which looks gnarly.
Yeah.
Oh no, I do like the balance of that, to be honest.
Yeah, it's great. So Duke, I gotta say, Baron is my favorite pet. Do you design the pets?
I did, yeah. For
I
Baron especially.
oh, he's so cute. He's the best. He's just the
He's
best pet,
awesome.
and he just waddles around. Yeah,
I do like Baron a lot. It was the challenge of because Duke's like embedded into this ice wall, so we
mhm.
couldn't really. I had to go through a few iterations before we ended up at Baron actually, and then uh, he just became this little lovable dude.
Yeah.
I'm so here for it.
Yeah, he's so cute. And okay, this is I don't know if you're gonna know this. Maybe this is a question for Mod Ed. I guess you actually would know because you designed it. But like, is Duke? Is he attached? Like, is this like a whole like system of Duke where he's also peering through the walls on the side? Like, is that part of him, or are those separate entities?
It's all him. He
Oh
fills
my
up the.
god.
He's eaten all the prisoners within, and all the people who escaped from this Rosian war. He's eaten them all, and he's taken up the entire husk of the prison.
That is so dark.
It
I
is.
almost want to see like a sort of X-ray of what's going on behind the wall that's like making him like all around. This is so
Yeah,
scary.
it
Yeah,
does
that's
leave it up to the imagination as well, which is it's gnarly and it's creepy. And I wanted. It was kind of hard to get it with the ice as well, but trying to make it feel like the body goes on behind the ice, we couldn't get it to work as well as we wanted to. But
mhm.
oh no,
And
ambitions.
is there any lore behind him dropping pineapple pizzas? I mean, people have. I think there's. Was it a Mitchy Fox art piece that was like Duke's Pizza, Duke's Pizzeria, or something like that? He has like the pineapple pizza or
Oh
something. But
wow,
yeah,
I have no idea. I have no idea why he drops pineapple pizzas. That is actually news to me. Maybe he's so disgusting that he also likes those kind of pizzas. Maybe
yeah,
that's the
yeah.
lore.
I'm just like I would not trust eating that pineapple pizza when you just killed this slug thing. But okay, let's go up to Leviathan, which is so cool, such a cool pet, so distinct. It's different than anything we've ever seen,
Mm.
and I want to get your thoughts on this.
Oh, this one was a fun one because we actually didn't have the boss mechanics down when I started drawing it. So
Mm,
I'll you see it further down. It's the first sketches of the Leviathan,
yeah,
which they were very explorative. There's one where he is massive and you actually fight inside of the mouth, which was me just kind of saying to the developers, here's the suggestions of like where we potentially could take this. And we were all like, no, that might feel quite static after a while, might not be as impactful when you just bite the tongue.
that
So
is
we,
crazy how small your dude is. I didn't even see that. And yeah,
yeah, yeah.
that would have been a crazy fight. That would have been the for sure the largest monster in the game ever. Like I don't think anything could beat that. Just the head alone, like you're attacking a tongue of
Exactly.
something. That's
Oh, and that's
insane.
kind of what we wanted because we knew the Leviathan is this 5,000 or even older beast that has just grown massive in size and got sucked into the scar where he's eaten anything that comes close. And how do you even begin to visualize that kind of size? You know, because we're limited to everything fitting within the size of it and within the animation bounding box and stuff. So it's like, oh, how do you do it? So it was a lot of back and forth in regards to having this feeling of like a weird deep sea creature that is also kind of smoked, like a smoked fish.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to go for, and also a bit abyssal because of the corruption of the scar. So it's like it was all these things to balance, and I think we ended up going for something that focuses a bit more on the mouth and the devouring of the mouth, like really feel the length of the body through the mouth of the Leviathan was kind of like what I was going for. This creepy thing you have to look down into, and you see that you can also be eaten by this big fish. That was it was crazy. And then we ended up on something where the developers were starting to pinning down the mechanics of wanting it to be in the center of this big donut, and it's kind of fighting around it. And then slowly more and more elements started making its way in, like having a bit of a weak spot on the back, and the lure being used for attacks and such. So, and then the question of how do you then communicate the size? And that's when the Leviathan donut, as we called it, came in, which is like this weird donut of the Leviathan's body that we could animate to just rotate half underwater, which is what Mudhend helped me prototype. And it worked really well. Like, you get this Loch Ness sea creature feeling of it continuing on in many, many hoops of the body in the water around. So I feel like we got kind of a sense of size with the Leviathan through this.
Yeah, it just looks so cool. Like the whole arena itself this is something that we would have never been able to imagine the first few years of Old School. A boss like this. I mean, we had Kraken, you know. Don't get me wrong, Kraken is also top 3 pet in my opinion. I just think he's the most adorable thing ever. But you look at his mouth and it's just like zigzag teeth, and just it looks really funny. And then you have something like this coming out, and it's like wow, the difference.
It's a fun one. It's tough to balance that one as well. It's these old NPCs of the game that just look kind of cute, kind of silly. And then newer content we do has a bit more polish to it and a bit more attention to it. So this one actually feels a bit more like a fish and a sea creature with like anatomical features that helps elevate the design and stuff. So it's like, when do you go back to that kind of Kraken feel stuff you design?
Yeah, for real. It's because I'm just thinking, you know, in the next 5-10 years, are we gonna be, you know, potentially, because I'm just imagining the art will become more and more and more modern over the years, not in a bad way necessarily, but things are just gonna start looking very professional to the point where some of the older stuff maybe will look out of place. Do you ever think there will be some? I am not advocating for this by any means, but I remain quite indifferent. I'm just wondering, have you guys ever thought about remastering almost some of the older content, or is that just absolutely not anything you guys would be thinking of?
Not really. I think it holds such a dear place in a lot of people's hearts. So there's times when we introduce content to an old area, and that's when we would potentially give it a bit of love. Like you saw with the Royal Titans, the kind of Asgardian ice dungeons around it got a tiny bit of a rework to fit a bit more with what the new arena would look like and the new NPCs there. But then the new bosses also then take some hints from the old ice giants and the fire giants as well. So there's a balancing act of it. So when we do push stuff a bit further, it's usually for newer content where it doesn't have a lot of the old elements around it, so it doesn't necessarily feel that out of place. But we try to just embrace what Old School is and kind of try and channel that and what the devs might have wished the art to look like when they were developing it as well, and just kind of trying to take it further, but without going out of the realms of what the style of Old School might be.
Yeah. Do you have any issues with super old NPCs like Necreals looking like an actual just chunk of, God even knows that, just have you seen the legs? Just look up Necreals and just look at the legs of those guys. They're just blocks. I need to pull those up. They are some of the most charming looking things in this game. They're just so basic.
I just wouldn't have it in me to change anything like that, you know, like I think when I first started working here, the thing that really made it click for me is when Grubb showed me the Old School RuneScape crocodile, and it just looks so fucking silly, and the animations for it is just obscene, and it just feels so like it's dev art. It's basically dev art, and we look back on the crocodile sometimes when we design stuff to kind of, okay, we still need to make it feel this way in some certain way.
There was like some Reddit thread over the holidays, and it was just a picture of I think it was a crocodile with a Santa hat on, just moving around, and it's like that really is just totally encapsulating just the charm and the just quirkiness and silliness of this game, where you just have random crocodiles running around just with Santa hats on.
It's so important. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So. And I'm totally with you. It really is just kind of picking your brain with all this stuff, because I love the charming look of things, and I think changing that ends up taking away something.
Yeah, and it's hard when we also want to try and design something within this kind of area of the style, which is a bit goofy looking. It doesn't always go down necessarily well when something is a bit goofy looking, because it's obviously now people get to see the concept art before stuff is created and stuff, whereas how it was before, everyone's just kind of accepted that, yeah, that's what the crocodiles look like, or that's what the necreals look like, and we're kind of, that's what we're used to. But when it's something new, it's hard to introduce something like that. And I remember with the Sunfire Fanatic helmet, I went for this kind of silly looking sun face to go with it. And I remember getting a tiny bit of backlash from players thinking, that was too goofy, like you've grinded for a long time to get this new best in slot prayer armor. And it just looks goofy as fuck. And it's like, yeah, but that's part of it, you know? Like there's
I'm
there's
with
a
you.
charm to it.
Yeah, and this isn't like, this isn't out of place either. We've already seen helmets similar to this.
Exactly.
In the game, and I just love that it's like smiling, just like a little smiley face. In
yeah,
fact,
he's.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, like, we are gonna get to the point where we look at the helmet of the moon, which I just think is the funkiest, funniest, most amazing helmet in this game. I mean, probably partly because it's so rare, but it is just perfect.
It's hilarious. I drew that one too, and I remember laughing when I just drew it because it's just so silly.
It's amazing. So, but I guess before we move on from Desert Treasure 2, there's some of the areas that I think I just really wanted to touch on, like the Scar area, or
yeah,
which looks like a brain.
Yeah,
almost. There's like a kind of abyssal brain going on. So what was the concept behind all this, and are you happy with how it turned out?
I'm so happy with how the scar turned out. I think Grubb did the initial sketches of this kind of brainy environment, and then he moved on to some of the other environments. But we were talking about, since this is in the Abyss, and that's all part of this big Chthonian demon's body, so the scar would be the brain. So I was just kind of playing around with brain wall kits, trying to make that work with our limitations, and making it actually optimized for the game itself, and also playing around with trees being nerve endings and synapses and all sorts of weird stuff like that.
So
brain
cool.
corals and brain theme. It was so much fun to work. It was so much fun.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
Yeah, I wanted to feel really gross. I think that was like the main the main driver.
Yeah, I think if you wanted to really go deep on that gross factor, you should have made it so like every footstep you make, like every time you're running, there's like a blood trail, like a blood trail behind you, just like squishing the brain.
That'd be hilarious, like a little squelch sound every time you step down as well.
Oh, no. That would be bad. Yeah,
gross.
Yeah, just make it the worst noise. Actually, I know you're not on the sound team or anything, but there are some really cool sounds that have come out lately, and how much time is put into the sounds, do you think?
They come in quite late, which is a shame, truly, because they have to catch up on a lot of sound effects and stuff quite late in the process. But they also, with art, we tend to send them the animations for stuff pretty soon, and concept art of areas for motivation behind what the soundtrack of that area would be and stuff. So they jump on it with us as we work on it, which is quite exciting. And the soundtracks they make is just beautiful to listen to. Sometimes they send us sneak peeks of like what the audio would look like, would not look like, would sound like. and VFX for the bosses. They slowly start plugging them into the game as you play test it, and you suddenly hear a new sound, and it's always so exciting to suddenly see it all come together.
That's so cool. How much of your day is just I mean, because you've made so much. We haven't even covered all of it yet, and you're still making more and more. Do you? I mean, it sounds like you knew that. Okay, I'm an artist. Like I love this. Are you just really in your like zone, in your groove right now, like making this kind of stuff? Does it ever get exhausting potentially to have to like think of new things to make, or is this just exactly up your alley, like everything?
Oh, it's so up my alley. I really like for one, working on old schools. Like, it's massive. I've always kind of wanted to do it when I was little, and when I heard about concept art, Jagex was one of the studios I really wanted to work for. So getting to work on the actual game that you spent so many hours playing when you were little is like, oh, it's cathartic. It truly is. But in terms of art, it's just always in the groove. To be honest, the challenges that it brings forth and kind of trying to be creative within the realms of limited possibilities that we have is so much fun. So every day is a challenge, and you learn something new about the engine as you go along every day. But the only times I'd say it's a bit of a ball ache is when we get a lot of feedback on the best in slot kit, and it goes back and forth.
Yeah, that's
It's dreadful. It honestly is. It's just the element of reading everyone's unfiltered opinion about you and your designs.
Yeah,
It makes it a bit dreadful to get to work those days. But then the passion of the team internally, then approaching the problem with you, and you're not alone in trying to fix it or working on it. So it kind of helps balance that out.
This game is just so different than other games. I mean, because what other game are you trying to take community feedback for art? Like most games, they come up with something, the team decides, yeah, this is great, all right, release it, and then that's just it. And the players don't even have a say. I mean, they can say stuff, but with our game, it's like people do feel like they have a sway over it, so they'll get super riled up about what something looks like.
I think that's both for good and for worse sometimes. Like, I would like a certain level of trust in what we do, and just believe that in the long term of things, we do think really, really deeply about why something looks the way it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I have to just mention this. I scrolled down to the slide where there's a statue of Duke Succulus, or Sussulus, or however you pronounce it. And this is, I guess, before the original design. Okay, this is adorable. This guy looks like one of the monsters from Monsters Inc. Just walking around on 2 feet. Like, we need this guy. We need some sort of like, you know how like some bosses have like their like lesser variants. It's just kind of like Abyssal Sire versus the Abyssal Demons. Like these should be like little dukes that you're killing, basically, like on the Slayer task or something.
That's so funny. I had to draw this statue after I designed the Duke, but I was like, how the hell do I even communicate what he'd look like before he filled up a prison? And I drew this little blob, and I was like, you know what? This kind of works.
I love it.
This is close enough.
It's adorable. Okay, now we're going to move on to Varlamore. And the first thing we're going to touch on is the Colosseum. And I am sure that even though this isn't a best in slot type thing, this is an end game piece of content. And so I imagine for you, there probably was some pressure behind it of, you know, trying to capture what end game players would like to see.
Yeah.
And how was your overall thoughts? I guess I'll say one thing before I let you chime in, which is, I think, at least on release, I don't think anybody cares these days, but I think there was this sense of disappointment that the Colosseum didn't have a bunch of audience in it.
Yeah, there was. And you see in the concept art, I actually doodle in spectators. So it was in the plans to have a bunch of people spectating, but we actually just run into a lot of frame issues with it. So Ghost we tried for a while trying to create models or locks already placed into the staircases with animations on them, optimized for the Colosseum to also work with spawning a bunch of NPCs in, but with the audience as well. It just created too much gameplay implications that we had to shelf it. And we just haven't had time to get back onto it, which we're really sad about because we really tried to get it in, but it just didn't work as well as intended.
Yeah, that was
So
probably for the best, though.
yeah, it was either, I think people are happier that the gameplay is smooth for a challenge like this one rather than seeing a few people in the environment. But it would have been, I was sad about the lack of spectators as well, because it would have created such a difference in the impact of what it felt like. Because the whole experience of going into like a gladiator ring and seeing all those people cheering over the in the audience, and then seeing these challenges spawn before you, and you're slowly working your way through these waves and waves of challenge until you defeat Soul. It's like it would have been so much more impactful if we had that on release, but we just didn't, and it broke me.
Oh, yeah, it still looks so cool though, even without it. And to be fair, when you're actually playing it, besides just the initial entrance into the Colosseum, at least when you're playing it, you're not looking around. You're pretty zoomed in.
Yeah, it is true. I think it was a fun challenge to try and design Varlamore and Colosseum, because we took some elements of the environments around and stuff as well, and a bit of a Roman and a bit of an Aztec feel to it. So it was a fun challenge, and we feel like we kind of hit the mark with the immense feeling of being in an arena like it. But yeah, I think we definitely it would have been a better feeling with the spectators for sure.
Okay, so let's look at some of these NPCs from it. So I'm scrolling past the statues, which look amazing, and then I'm seeing the Manticore, the Doom Scorpion.
Yeah, I didn't design a lot of the NPCs for this one. That was mostly Mod Grub, actually. But I did get to design the Manticore, which was probably one of my favorite NPCs to date, to be honest. Because it's just such a... It's a well-known myth of folklore, and trying to capture that in like a weird old school RuneScape face. I feel like I was really channeling that crocodile with this one. So
Oh yeah, no, it's perfect. He's got the spiky cracking teeth as well. It looks great.
yeah.
It looks great.
I really like drawing that one. We joke and say it looks like Mud Grub, so we, which it really does. Oh gosh.
That's awesome. And then I love the Max Cape with the quiver. I thought that was just brilliant. It's so honestly, I mean, I have my own gripe with the quiver. I just don't think it's large enough. So when you're just rocking the quiver in game, I think we're so used to having like a big thing in the back. So like Ava's assembler is just massive compared to a quiver that's really hugging your back quite closely. And but the Max Cape version really gives that sort of extra bulkiness that I'm definitely about. So yeah,
I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, I think it was hard to, especially introducing the first kind of usable quiver in the game, was like I didn't want to go too overboard as well. But I remember we saw the feedback on the size in the beginning, and we thought it wasn't that bad. But then after a while and seeing so many players kind of speak up about it, we did try and lengthen it a tiny bit. But we didn't want it to feel too like prop on the back either. So hard to balance that one.
Yeah, see, this is the kind of stuff that's like in your guys's. I mean, you guys are thinking of so much, and then we just see whatever you guys have come up with, and then we're not getting the full like in-depth look of what you guys have been discussing. But yeah, I think overall it looks great, and it is cool that we do officially have a quiver rather than a backpack with a chicken in it picking up our ammo, which is still adorable. Like that is truly old school, but yeah.
It's got an essence of old school to it. Yeah, I think it's cool that we got to introduce a quiver, and I loved doing the Max Cape variant as well. And I wanted an excuse to bring in a white Max Cape, so this was the perfect opportunity for something like that as well.
And the Echo boot. Okay, this is actually a question. What are your thoughts on wings on boots?
Oh, it's so overdone. It's so, but it's hard not to do it sometimes. Like especially with the Avernic threads for the Delve boss that was just kind of teased for Varlamore 3. It has wings as well. And I remember someone saying, "Oh, another set of best in slot boots with wings on," and I'm like, I know, but
I think,
They're
but the thing is,
Abernic.
yeah, no, I think people are actually okay with it. You never see that much of a gripe with the wings. I think people almost relate the wings to Old School in a way. Like those are
Okay,
kind of
that's good at least.
yeah, and it gives it some extra girth. In fact, it's almost weird switching away from the winged boots, like the Serb boots, and going to something more basic because it almost feels like there's something missing. It's like it's front heavy or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
So
can see that. It's built this like expectation on boots
yeah,
going forwards, and I do think we've done a lot of wings on boots for a
yeah.
while now, and I would love for us to explore something that is a bit more grounded, perhaps in real life for some more best of slot boots. But when that
Totally.
time will come, we'll see.
Yeah. Okay, let's scroll down to the Hunter Guild, which is so cool. It reminds me of the Tree Gnome Stronghold with, you being able to climb up a tree and stuff and a rope, and you're just kind of in there. And the whole vibe is just amazing. So let's talk about this.
Yeah, this one was a lot of fun. We knew we wanted it to be within a big tree as well, so trying to work out how to do some kind of kit was a lot of back and forth with West to see what would actually work. And I think we couldn't do it exactly as a concept, and we had to do a few changes to it as well. But we wanted something that felt like one with nature. And I think we really got something going there, with the pub being all tree stumps and very natural looking raw material, and the hides everywhere, which just feels very hunter. It was such a fun one to work on, and I think West really did it so justice. Like, it looks so good in
Yeah,
the end.
it's so good. The underground area where you're getting the contracts just feels very cozy. It feels like you're in this little cavern and things aren't too spaced apart. Everything's really condensed, which is so good for design, just making it feel all like a little bit more together. And yeah, you're right. All the rugs and everything just looks so cool. So I'm a huge fan of going there, and it just looks great. And then obviously you design some of these new hunter creatures and the Ketsin, which is just so colorful. It's like it's so cute. Wait, was it originally going to have a little backpack to it?
Oh yeah, yeah. It was gonna be. I did we make that? It was supposed to be the guild bird, so the one specifically
Oh,
in the
okay.
guild.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the one. I haven't seen it because I was thinking it was from the pet or the pet
Oh,
itself.
that would
We
have
need
been
we
really
need the
cute.
we need the backpack on the pet, I think. Yeah.
That's so cute. Yeah, this one's based on a real bird, actually. Yeah, there's Quetzals in real life, which I think someone posted on Reddit and was like, "Oh my god, they made Quetzal in real life."
Yeah, from RuneScape, they put it and made it in real life. That's great.
Very typical.
I love the whistle too. This is actually, I think, something that probably goes unnoticed. Just how creative the idea behind the Quetzal whistle was.
Thank you. It's actually based on a real Aztec bird whistle, so
Oh,
it was like historically accurate as well, but a lot of fun shapes, Quetzal-like shapes.
yeah. Looks very cool. And then obviously the moonlight and sunlight antelopes look really cool. They got this like really kind of moon looking, like crescent moon kind of looking
Yeah,
design
yeah. I
to it.
wanted I wanted it to feel like a reflection of the horns continued onto the body, which was quite fun. I remember Rob and I went back and forth a lot on just how zingy we wanted the color on them to be and stuff as well. So yeah, they were cool. It's fun to explore new animals within the game, and I know Skylark has been making a lot of fresh animals for Varlamore in general, and it's nice. It's nice to see it populated.
Yeah, I wanted to see this. This is something obviously very controversial to all the pet hunters out there, but I love that there's a chin pet. I love that there's an Irby pet, and then we have Ketsin. And I'm just thinking we need a sunlight antelope pet. I want a little antelope following me. Like that would be cool.
Oh, there's
But
so much potential with hunter pets, isn't it?
yeah, there's so much, and it would almost get overdone. There's already so many hunter pets. It feels like people have to go for. But again, that's the downside because there's so much creativity you can offer. But then you have to think of
Yeah.
like the consequences of like how the players are going to react to just adding, in their opinion, maybe like more quote unquote fluff or like, oh, I have to go for this now. Like you're forcing me to go for this.
it's sad because it's like no one's forcing you to do anything.
Exactly.
If you don't want the pet, you don't have to get it. But if you are one of those pet hunters, then of course you do. Um, and that just adds one more to your grind, which is like, and you get a little cute pet to go with it. I
Yeah,
quite like having different variants for skill pets. So I say, let's welcome more.
that's what I'm saying. And okay, so now I'm looking down at all of these outfits, and they're so different, yet they still fit the old school theme.
Mm.
And I'm looking down here. Obviously, the mixed hide looks amazing. The hunter outfit itself looks just great. Did you ever think of adding? I don't know if this ever comes up. I mean, with the hunter guild outfit, were you guys imagining maybe adding different color variations like they did with
Mm.
graceful?
Well, that's interesting. It's a tough one. The whole like different colors of the same kit. It does help add variety, but this one specifically was designed with the hunter cape in mind. So I'd
Hmm,
say for the hunter specific one, I wouldn't be so inclined. But
makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah, I guess I was just wondering if, like, in your guys' mind, it was thinking of, oh, okay, well maybe everybody's going to be wearing this. Maybe there should be some sort of
Oh,
extra,
yeah. You know what would be
cosmetic going
cool?
on. Yeah. You
Like
go.
doing different hides because it's like a black leopard or panther hide right now. So like playing around with some variations of like, oh yeah,
I would
different furs.
I would be down for that because I don't think there's any real use for those furs either in the game. I don't know if you guys are ever going to
Hmm.
come up with a use for that, but
I had no idea,
yeah,
but
that
this
that
would
would
be one.
that would have been cool. And now I'm looking at all the NPCs.
Oh yeah, it was a lot of NPC work. I think that's was my main focus behind doing the first release of Varlamore was doing the population. That was fun. Trying to hit that kind of Aztec but also Roman feel, like a balance of both. Obviously, Civitas is a bit more Roman inspired, and then the further out towards the rainforest and those places and Alderin and stuff as well, it's a bit more Aztec. Um, but yeah,
Are
no,
the
that was
I'm looking. I can't. Are these babies that are being held in their on their
yeah.
torso cloth that rich homeowners? Oh, I did. I have not even noticed that. Are those the like only babies in the game? I swear I've
They
never seen
are.
a.
They are. And I was
Love
so
it.
surprised when there's not been any babies in game before. I was like, you know what? It would make the most sense if those rich people would have some babies because they'd be happy and comfortable and stuff. So,
Yeah. Oh my
oh,
god. That
yeah.
is hilarious. So yeah, no, that's great. The first babies that are coming into the game. I mean, we got Gnome Child, we got these other children here. We've seen children in Varrock and everywhere else, but we had never saw just a full on baby. So
It's never been a baby.
yeah,
It's crazy that.
that is crazy. Actually, when are we gonna get a crawling baby that just crawls around?
I was just thinking about it.
Yeah,
I suppose we'd have to justify the budget for it and all sorts of things, but I feel like having a crawling baby at one point would just make sense. How else does people grow up, you know?
yeah, for real. And then I love the look of the Camtorum dwarf civilization. They all look so just chunky, and they're so cute. I feel like the dialogues of them, like they're just so like chill. I don't know, like that whole vibe. In fact, this is something I wanted to cross by you because when I talked to Gentle Tractor on his first episode, this is like almost 4 years ago at this point, he was talking about, he was the kind of the guy around designing just those initial pitches of Varlamore, and he was also recommending some of like how they could rework Zaya. And one of the ideas that he was thinking of was Lovakang being an underground dwarf
Mm,
civilization rather than up on the surface with all the lava and everything being spaced out. And it seemed like Imkondo hit that exactly how he would have imagined Lovakang becoming. So I know
yeah.
you probably don't know exactly, but is there any plan for when Lovakang one day does get reworked that you will go down the route of the kind of underground dwarf civilization?
I feel like that makes sense. Kind of looking at the paleness of Thurgo
Yeah.
and stuff. I remember trying to explore a bit of that paleness in these as well, and you see a lot of the dwarf population in the rest of the game is also underground, so it would make a lot of sense. They all live and breathe the minerals of the mountains, so it would make perfect sense. I think I initially explored a bit around with Varlamore 2 that some of the dwarves and stuff would have more almost mineral colored skin.
Mm.
Like they've kind of become one with the minerals as well. But I kind of went against it because it was a bit weird.
Yeah,
But
they're like turning into rocks almost.
yeah, and that would be a whole new take on the lore. So I don't know if it would go too hand in hand, but yeah, definitely. I think he's got a good idea going there. But I don't know what the plans are for them in the future. But definitely for it.
Cool. I love the like dwarf banks. I think it's at Huey where you're banking at basically like this buffalo type thing.
Yeah,
I think that's awesome.
I love the bank buffalo.
Yeah. And now we're gonna get onto moons, which is definitely one of the most beautiful areas like in old
Mm,
school. I feel like moons is just so vibrant.
wow, that's
And yeah.
thank you. I think this started as West and Skylark's game jam project a while back, actually, and they brought a lot of their passion into this. And I will say, Skylark did an amazing job on designing the bosses and the armor kits for this. And I had the pleasure of joining them on designing some of the environments. And it just came together with so much love for this area because it came from a passion project of a game jam. So of course they wanted to do it justice, so we wanted to do it justice, and it just grows from there. So oh, that was such a fun one to work on.
Yeah, they look amazing. So it's Mod Skylark. You said that was really working on the armor and then just the
Yeah.
design of the bosses themselves.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those look so cool, and they really are fitting. I feel like they're so different, yet
Mhm.
somehow they just work with old school, and they are very different. Like they're the Eclipse, especially the fact that we have an Atlatl in the game now that can
Yeah.
just throw little javelin things. Like that's so cool.
It's cool. It opened up for a lot of a whole new direction within it because from it has a lot of new Nagua designs has appeared, like the genies, and it's a whole new race, which is so cool to get to play around with. And I think Skylark did an amazing job trying to introduce something a bit more fantastical as well. No, really, really cool. I also really like how vibrant it is. I think that was it's not often we get to play around with so vibrant color palettes, but this time we did. We make
I
the
al-
most of it.
I also love your guys' takes on reward rooms. I think you guys have really mastered that with like ToA. The reward room just looks so cool. I really wish if there was any redesign I would really love to see is
Mm.
chambers having some sense of reward room rather than the chest, just a singular chest just sitting there waiting for the Olm to die. And
Oh, interesting.
I think like you guys nail it with these other types. I mean, even moons. Like moons isn't even necessarily a raid, but you still get. I guess it's kind of like Barrows. Barrows has its little centered reward room, but it's not quite as in just
Impactful,
beautiful as
yeah.
this. Yeah, yeah, as this one. So
I feel like it's important to really give you. I think with a lot of the rewards room we've done so far, I'm trying to like channel what the stronghold of security had with the chests in the middle there, because they really get that feeling of like you've just ran through some crazy danger and you get to this like breathing space and you get a reward for it. And I just think it's such a good feeling if you can get that right.
you
Mm.
know what's crazy? I've mentioned my three favorite pets in this game. I kid you not. I've been saying this for months. Is Baron, Kraken, and Huey or Hubert. And I think Hubert, I don't know what happened here. You're going to have to tell me. Hubert is in like 120 hertz. Like he's going like super slow motion when you're looking at his pet variant. Have you seen that? Like the way he breathes, the way he
No,
moves?
oh,
Oh
it's
my
been a
God.
while.
Yeah, the pet. So every other pet is more, just a little bit more choppier. It just kind of got that old school sort of choppiness. You know how players breathe. If you zoom up really close, they kind of do the little jitter
Yeah, the
back
bird
and forth.
snapping.
Yeah, yeah, and the Hubert, he's just so smooth. His wings like kind of breathe. They look more breathing. It's so cool. So
Wow. I
yeah.
didn't even realize. I suppose I think Hubert was made with the Maya rig, which provides a bit of a smoother animation for us. So that might be it
Mm,
actually.
I love it. I think it's so cool, and it's such a crazy looking Aztec dragon. I think I originally called it a Chinese dragon just because I remember watching. I think it was I don't even know if you know what this is, Reading Rainbow, but it was this like children's show, and I remember the first time watching it, I was very young and seeing like a Chinese dragon at like a parade. And
Hmm.
so when I saw this initially, I was thinking of that, but it is, I guess there is a distinction between them. They look quite similar, but the
They
Aztec
have
dragon,
similarities, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So let's go into how this was all designed with the whole climbing up the mountain. Huey's, it kind of got a similar vibe to Duke as well, where Huey's like
Hmm.
body or whatever it is, just the whole like section of it is like going through the cave and you have to like kill it. So
Yes.
yeah, let's talk about it.
It was this one actually was developed at the same time as the I think it was Mod Squid who worked on this. As he was designing the mechanics for it as well. So we actually kicked it off together, trying to discuss how to make this one an interesting boss fight, and we knew we wanted it to be like this long kind of serpent of the mountain that was like circulating the whole mountain, which obviously we can't do with our restrictions. So we had to find some kind of clever solution to do it, which is why since we'd just done that thing with the Duke, we could do something kind of similar with Huey as well, which is where the kind of Tales in the Mountain part came from. And then a section that opens up as you finish the boss fight, and you have to now finally fight the Huayquatl face on. And it was really fun. I think the prayer mechanic wasn't really on the table. It was something I suggested for like synergizing prayer and introducing that kind of element to a fight, and Mud Squid really took that on board and created something really cool for it. Ah, it was really fun to develop with one of the game designers at the same time, actually, because you kind of it all goes hand in hand. So having a concept that can really communicate what the designer wanted it to be is just awesome, and it's easier done when we're all passionately into it together at the same time.
Now, were you behind? Oh yeah, okay. So you were. I had to scroll down a little bit. So the Huey hide with the wand and the Tome of Earth. I love. So I'm playing a new like Iron Man as of like, the past like 5 months, and one of my goals was to rock Huey hide just because I think it's so different. It's just like who's going for that, you know? Like the crafting
Yeah.
level is quite high, and who's you could just go for any other piece of range gear. But I have been rocking. I don't have the helmet yet or the coif, but the coif's the best part about it. I think it just looks so like crazy and charming. But I want to hear your take on these kinds of designs. And while we're actually on this slide toward the very bottom, I do want to touch on mixology, which I cannot get over how fucking amazing the outfit of the mixology outfit. It's just
Wow.
it's so cool. Like it's just perfect. It's just it looks. I mean, I haven't really seen many people wearing it because the goggles are the only actually useful part of it, and so most people just go for the goggles unless they're clogging, and then they'll get their collection log and they'll hardly ever wear the outfit. But I think the outfit looks phenomenal. It just looks so cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we wanted it to just be on the goggles, so it opens up for players being able to wear a bit of whatever they want for the rest of the outfit to kind of open up for seeing a bit more variety in the overworld. Like, so not everyone's just running out in these lab coats. It's also what I thought would help was the half apron and the only lab coat kind of variants of the kit as well would kind of give a bit of variety. I'm glad you like it. I'll start touching on the Huayquatl range gear first, which is we wanted to almost do something a bit Monster Hunter like, where you really feel like you're utilizing the hides you're getting from a boss. And how do you make that feel like you're using those scales and you're using those elements to make an armor? And it's the first time we really done something so on the nose as this one was, and it was actually quite hard to get it right. And I think it has the perfect balance of kind of clunky, but still feels kind of serious, which was quite a fun one.
Yeah, it looks really cool. It definitely is silly. It's the coif itself is very silly, but it's still cool.
It is.
It's so different. And the wand?
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted that to kind of feel like the tail tip, actually, similar to the tail tip of Huey, but like kind of like a flower on the tip of it, similar to what she uses in the fight. So yeah, it's hard to do a wand because we don't actually have that much space to work with and so many polygons to work with either.
Now, yeah, I heard something in the background. Was that?
Yeah, sorry, it was just people in the pub nearby.
Okay. I wanted to ask about this. This is probably not something you would be directly working on, but you know how with magic, you'll have a staff or you'll have a wand, but the spells actually never shoot out of it. It shoots out of your like hand. Like you'll do this little like cast where you put your hands together and then blast it out.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I guess there are some charge staves like the shadow and other things that do come out of the staff, but
That's very interesting.
yeah, I think it's the mostly standard spellbook stuff that you're shooting out of your hands.
I guess it's all those animations then are unanimous, so you can use them with anything at any time. Mm-hmm. If we'd want to do that with each staff in the game, it would have to need a new bespoke animation for each magic weapon, which is like a whole, message hand. I'm sure he'll be down to do something like that.
Yeah, how much work does that really take? Is there unforeseen consequences of doing something like that? I think I was talking with Mod Nin about the idea of, this is completely unrelated, but it was one of those things where it's like as soon as you go down this route of changing things, it becomes a constant thing that you now have to like upkeep for the end of time. And one of those that I mentioned to him was like puzzle boxes, how not the puzzle box, like the slide puzzles you're doing for clue scrolls. They have this element of clunkiness because the slide puzzle doesn't actually register what has been done until every following tick. And so you'll click on the slide puzzle super fast, and like all of a sudden 3 things have moved all at once on the following tick, and then another 3 and another 3. But I was asking him, and they do have the actual potential, and it's been done in the game where you really can have it be fully just what's the word? Just responsive to your clicks, where like it'll just be seamless. But he's scared that if they do that, now it has to be done for everything, and that could cause extra dev time and potential issues down the line. So I wonder with staves shooting those things, is it something that's just a one-time thing to do and you have to go through all the staves, or is there extra work, do you think, that would have to be done as well?
Well, it would build upon any task in the future of designing a stave or something. A magical weapon would also then require an extra animation for each of the other casts from the original spellbook, which adds like definitely quite a few days to an animation ticket of something that's usually quite simple. So it, as Nin said, it definitely builds. It's never easy.
Yeah, it would add that a little bit of extra coolness, having your spells shoot out of a wand.
I'm here for it. I feel like stuff like that, like the tiny things that people think might not actually be worth it, is worth it. It's things you notice.
Yes, I totally agree. All right, looking at this helmet of the moon. Huge fan, by the way. Where did this come from? What were you thinking?
It actually came from Mud Arcane. Initially, he wanted this weird NPC somewhere that wouldn't stop talking about moons. He was like really obsessed with moons, and it was some kind of weird Easter egg somewhere that you wouldn't necessarily run into straight away, and it was really rare to get. And I thought that'd be okay. We should lean it towards something akin to like the Sunfire fanatic, but we have like a moon fanatic or something. Someone who's just truly obsessed. And the helmet, I thought, okay, it needs to be some kind of twist on the Sunfire Fanatic helmet, which is the sun. So it just became this moon. Kind of looks like an ice cream scoop when you look at it now, but it's it was just for fun. It was flavor. We just kind of had a bit of fun with it.
It's crazy how much talk there's been about it because of how rare it is. And I actually saw a Reddit post where I think they were talking about Helmet of the Moon, and Mod Arcane in the replies of a Reddit thread was saying that Varlamore Part 3, there will be additional ways of getting these like loops and teeth halves that you can get to achieve this Helmet of the Moon. It is very, 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 very rare, insanely rare right now to get. I don't know if you know, it's very rare.
What's the drop rate?
It's 1 in 500 from the chest, but you have to build a key first, which is very rare to get the key halves.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I think somebody calculated it. If you do it like absolutely efficiently to get the helmet on rate, it's something like 1,500 hours. And that's if you're really sweating it. If you're not sweating it, you're just doing it more casually. I mean, it's just thousands and thousands of hours to go.
That is so funny. It's something we thought wouldn't be that impactful, but due to the nature of it being so rare, it's become this like pretty big thing, which is just so hilarious to me.
Yeah, it's perfect because, again, this is one of those things like it's okay. It's okay to have it super rare because it's not like an essential thing you need to grind. It's like third age at this point, and that's cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't know it became this this kind of mythical.
Oh yeah, the Clogger community. It's technically not in the collection log, so they're not as it's not as impactful, but they are. There has been discussion of like that should things like this be in the collection log, even if it's super rare.
That's an interesting topic. Yeah, I feel like it would be cool to have stuff like this in the collection log, just because of the elite feeling of then having that slot finished.
I totally agree. Yeah. All right, let's take a look at the mixology area. We are wrapping up kind of toward the end of all these slides, but this place looks so cool. I'm such a huge fan of the mini game. You guys nailed it with the size of the area. It's not the size of the Scotizo layer or the KBD layer. It's just a massive square. This is way more condensed, and it feels like you're in this nice confined area, and there's plants, and everything just looks great. What was the design behind this? What are your thoughts?
This one was fun. I think it was a lot of working with Mod Mac during this as well, because he's the genius behind this this piece of content. And the machines are so niche. He'd written up this massive document with lots of like chemical like notes, and I remember having I needed him to like walk me through what the hell was going on in that thing he wrote up at least 3 times before I was able to actually draw something for it, because it just took me such a long time to truly understand what those like different types of pastes were and how they all kind of configure together. And Grub also worked with me on this one to make some of the main machines for it, and we had to plan something for the different color variations of each mix. It was so much to think about, but from that comes this little piece of content with a lot of attention to detail when it comes to the little things, the feeling like you're actually making these potions, you're actually doing this thing, because you can see it happening in the machine and you can see it happening with what you're mixing, and it's like your action has a visual impact on what you're doing. And I think that's so awesome. So I wanted this piece of room to feel like a herblore room, hence all the plants. It feels like it's growing beds with sun rays coming from beyond the cave system and stuff. So making it feel lush, like I'd imagine some place where you're training herblore to be. Like I imagine the alchemist there would potentially grow these and take some of the plants for when they make potions and stuff as well. It was just trying to hit that feeling of a herblore activity space, but still kind of grounded in that kind of Aztec thing we're going for as well.
Yeah, so well done. So cool looking. And the whole environment. I mean, I know, you're not the one working on exactly how like the mechanics play out with the mini game, but that was so well done as well. Everything feels quite snappy, and it doesn't feel like you're being stuck at all. And the whole thing feels so cool because you dump your potions in and you're immediately, there's like this addictive cycle that's like, I did it. Now let's just go right back to the station. And it's really hard to kind of stop doing
That's
it.
cool.
It's like you just want to keep doing it, and it's so easy to jump into. There's not like a quest beforehand. You just jump in there and you can do it as long as you want, and you can leave whenever you want. It's so cool. I think it was just such a well-designed mini game, especially for the limitations of herb lore. I mean, you don't have much like room to design something that's groundbreaking. It's making a bank standing skill into something more interactive.
I like it a lot. I feel like I never particularly enjoyed training Herblore on my account
Hmm.
because of the whole running and getting the ingredients part. So I'm excited for something like this to appear
Yeah.
as well.
It was very well balanced, and it's just really cool. Now, this area I'm looking down here is this is the Colossal Worm course,
Oh wow, yeah,
but this is early. This looks way earlier on. I don't think there's a slide that's showing it more like in depth, but this was a great course.
yeah. This one was quite a lot of fun to work on. Actually, most of it was planned out already. Like the actual path, I think Mud Squid was working on, and then West has been playing around with some elements here and there. And then I got to go in and try and solve mostly the vertebrae. Like, how do you do stylized vertebrae in this style and make it modular so we can make a lot of variations easily and stuff. So,
Mm.
oh, it was just making massive beings or hints of massive beings is such a joy.
Yeah, it's really cool. Do you think we're gonna get any of that in the future, like the living versions of these massive dinosaurs?
It's hard to say because of our limitation of having the boss fit within like an animation like within the tiles it's in. Basically
Oh
the
yeah,
bounding box makes it so it has to stay that size, and we can't go a lot bigger than maybe say 11 by 11 tiles. So
yeah.
making something that's like long and massive still feel massive is really hard with the camera skewing we have, and also the limitations. So that's
Mm.
where we try stuff like we did with Huey and we did with Duke, where it's like elements of the size in other parts of the environment and stuff as well. Like I think Sabak is sectioned in two, so you have the front part of Sabak and then you have the back of Sabak as well.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and it's hard. I wish we could do massive creatures, but then it's also the question: keeping them kind of small also kind of fits within the style.
You're right.
So
Yeah, I would love to see. This is something I talked about right after Colosseum released, and just how amazing the soul fight was,
mm,
because it almost feels like Dark Souls kind of. It feels like that vibe of timing, and there's not like, I don't know how to describe it, but the way the mechanics work out with Soul is so cool. And I was thinking how cool it would be to have like a surface, like on the world surface, like a monster like Soul, where you can go in and kind of just attack it and just wandering, similar to
mm.
how the wildy bosses used to be, where they would just wander in the wilderness. And
Yeah, I
yeah,
guess
that
that was the proposal of the oh, what was that one called? The Wildy bus that they
oh,
proposed.
Rathma,
Yeah,
right?
Rathma.
And then the
That one,
Sandmaw or whatever was gonna come out to the desert. They
yeah,
were talking about that. Yeah.
like a potential other solution to it. But like this active surface bus that's walking around, I think it's such a cool thing. Especially feel like it fits the Wildy because it's like an ever ongoing thing, more of a moment to moment play style where you have to always be on your toes, kind of watching out, keeping an eye out for who's in the wildy, and then imagine then running into this like massive monster that's just lurking about. It's impactful. It's super cool. So I'd
I
love for something like
Yeah,
that.
I agree. I think looking back now, I think there's just so much contention when it comes to any sort of wilderness.
Mm.
But I mean, people will nitpick so hard when it comes to wildy because it affects everybody. I mean, people that don't want anything to do with the wilderness will now say, "Oh, you're going to come out with new things or new hotspots or ways that I'm going to end up dying out there," and I don't want that. So I'm going to vote
Oh,
no.
it's difficult because you sometimes have to do things you don't want to do, and that's kind of the exciting part about keeping old school fresh. I always like the heart rate increase you get when you jump over the line to wildies, like
Mm-hmm.
everyone should experience that fair. Like there's something about wildy that is just crucial to stay that way. It is something unexpected there that you can never truly predict. And
It
it's
is.
good
It
to be
is true.
surprised.
I think a better route, and again, this is in hindsight, would have been to actually have proposed the sand maw first, like the kind of
Mm,
wrath maw in the desert, and then because I'm sure wrath maw actually resonated with many people. Like I think that
mm.
idea really resonated, but because it was in the wilderness and people have so many issues with that, it ended up just not landing as well. And if it had originally been proposed as a sand wrath maw out in the desert, then they could have built upon that, being like, "Okay, we want to introduce one to the wilderness because it is such a successful thing, and we're gonna
Oh, that's a
play
good
off of
call.
that." But now it's like this whole divide where like Rathma didn't even get into the game, and now like the Sand Rathma has this bad connotations because it was originally supposed to be a wilderness thing, and I think if it had gone the other way, it would have been more successful.
It's a shame that there's quite a few hangups in regards to the wilderness because it's one of the more like really lore-wise intriguing areas of the game, in my opinion. Like the how extremely sparse and burnt to the ground it feels. It just has so much potential for some cool bosses and some cool just introductions. But I do get it. I do get the hang up of it.
Have you ever thought about what you would want to design in the wilderness? I know there's been proposals of like an expanded up north wilderness where it goes beyond like the 55 wildy. And then there's also been, people that have, talked about, oh crap, I'm forgetting her name now. Soften.
Mod Soften. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had her on this ramble, and she had just totally gone over like what a wilderness kind of rework could look like, and some of the stuff looked so cool.
Yeah,
And
she had some really good proposals for that actually.
yeah, she did. Have you ever thought about maybe expanding on that kind of, or your own thoughts on wilderness? I know you like horror stuff, and so I bet there's
Oh,
easily some things you could add out there that would be terrifying.
yeah, any excuse to be honest. I'll admit I've not traveled much in the wilderness myself, so actually knowing the gameplay implications of introducing something would probably not be something I know much about. But I think playing around with more of the chaos elements of the wilderness would be fun, just to see where it could go. Because you have the chaos elemental and you have the chaos dwarves, and it's just there's potential for something even more chaotic,
Yes,
and
yes.
that's right up my alley. So I just like it from a visual standpoint. Just visually like to play around with something like that would be cool.
Yeah, I am just so excited about the future, just how big the dev team is, and how really the potential of this game. It feels like, yes, you guys are still working within limitations. You guys say that, but I feel like a lot of those limitations really have been lifted over the years. You guys end up finding ways around it, or finding just, I don't know. It feels like the engine is getting improved over and over. You are working with the old school engine, which is no
Yeah.
easy thing to be doing. But do you have, hope that in the future these limitations will be less and less of an impact? I mean, you do say that sometimes working around it actually does cause some really cool things to be implemented, but
Yeah.
it does feel still like there is like that hindrance element.
I think there's times we have upgraded some engines in the past, like we have with Maya animations, allowed us for way smoother animations and a lot more flexibility with the rig. So, but we still hold back. Like there's a certain element of holding back to make sure it fits with what's been there before, kind of kindred to the previous limitations we had. So I think it would be awesome for one to have all the colors. That would be that'd be one I'd really enjoy, and stuff that makes the whole process of making it easier. But when it comes to stuff like NPC sizes and uh, limitations and how many tries we have or the poly limit and stuff, I feel like it's fun to have the challenge, and it makes our game way more optimized than a lot of other games nowadays, and that's kind of the charm, and that's the benefit of it.
That's
So if
cool.
they,
Yeah.
yeah, if they find a way around it to make all our lives easier with working with the engine, I'd prefer it to be entirely from a tools perspective of just making it easier to work with, rather than lifting limitations that we've had before in a way that potentially could change the core of what something would look like.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I guess wrapping up with all these slides, I've just been kind of showing this kind of in the background. The Alduran environments look so cool. They kind of build off of like the classic Varlamore theme. It still has all those same kind of elements going on, but it is just slightly different. And then you obviously worked on all these NPCs, which is really cool. This is the diversity of how many NPCs we're seeing. It's not just the classic man and woman level 2 in Lumbridge, that you really are getting a lot more diversity, which is so cool.
It's something that Varrock got quite well. It's the whole feeling of a city lived in, and I think that's something we really wanted Varlamore to feel like too. It's like you see different types of people all around, and you can kind of get a sense of their story just by looking at them, and it just makes it feel much more lived in.
Yeah. Now, can you share anything? I know this is not stuff that can be revealed, but is there anything you can share about Varlamore Part 3 that's coming out very soon? About maybe the art side of it, maybe.
There's been, at RuneFest during the summit, we actually shared a few concepts. Just give me a second to find some of them. The ones that I am allowed to share. I might not be able to go too deep into everything about it. But they did reveal some of the architecture of the rainforest. They revealed a new Slayer creature you can fight, which is the Custodian Stalker. The Gemstone Crab was revealed. And I think that's it. So I'm just going to send that to you now, actually.
Yeah, let's see.
Have it. So I think this is what I'm allowed to share. So you can see with the architecture we're going for, it's something very, very much grounded in nature. It's in the middle of the rainforest. So having that kind of natural feeling, super colorful, but not too imposing, working with some of the more stone bases, kind of what you see in, what are they called? Like the big Aztec temples that you see in the middle of a jungle kind of thing. Like we wanted to really get that feeling.
Yeah, this looks so cool. I love that you got like all the sort of biomes with the Aztec feel.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, that one was really fun to work on. And then of course the Delve boss that was revealed. That one is probably my favorite boss that I've worked on to date, just because of how fucking crazy you could go with it. Because it's like you can go pretty far with something feeling demonic. And we weren't even sure really what to go for. Something insect-like that was also demonic, and how do you make an insect feel demonic, you know? So I played a lot around with some kind of shields, shield elements on the arms, making that feel demonic, almost like those creatures in the wilderness that you see have patterns on them that make them look like scary predators, but they're not actually. I wanted to play with that being like a demonic feel to it. So that one was a lot of fun to work on.
Wow. Yeah, these are all, I mean, I'm impressed. And what are these little like sand crabs? There's like gem crabs?
Yeah, the gem crab boss. They revealed a bit of that at RuneFest as well. I do not remember how much, to be honest. RuneFest was a blur, but it's basically a big gem boss, a big gem crab that you can fight in groups.
Okay, so this was the kind, because I was thinking, yeah, I do remember a poll where it was talking about a like sort of like a more AFK-able boss, like kind of like a sand crab, but yes. It's gems, so I guess you're going to be getting gems while fighting it, or once it's dead, you get some gems, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it's implied.
yeah. That's because I was curious if it's going to be like an ent out in the wilderness where like you kill them and then you chop their log at the end, like you have to bring a pickaxe at the end and then you're like AFKing, mining the gems off of it, something like that.
Yeah, I don't remember how much is revealed, so you'll see how it all works when it comes out.
I guess we'll find out. Maybe I just nailed it on the head. I promise I have not been told anything, but I'm just going off of what this looks like, so that's cool. Good.
it does look that way.
Yeah. And now I'm looking at the design where it's like it shows the 5x5, then the 3x3, and the crab part's out of it. So what are we doing with that part? Yeah.
I think you are onto something.
And then these custodian walker or stalkers are really cool. We got another baby. No, there's already babies in this game, but the human babies, there's only one version. So,
yeah. But this time we got a little baby custodian stalkers. I think we made it so you can't kill the babies, which I'm happy about.
Good. Yeah, don't be doing that. You gotta grow up and then you can kill them.
Yeah, this one was fun. It was the challenge of making 4 variants work with the same rig of animation, but still feel like an impactful change between each level they have. So, yeah.
Yeah, really cool.
Probably one of my favorite NPCs.
And then we see the superior version already, which is going to be super cool. I am such a huge fan of Superior Slayer. Just all those Slayer creatures look so cool.
They're so cool. It's like taking the initial high-level Slayer creature, but like how do you maximize that? Like how do you really take those design elements and make them feel superior? You know? Oh,
yeah. I need to cross this by you actually, because I'm sure you could design something absolutely amazing. But most of the Slayer monsters do have a superior variant, but there are some that still lack it, even though they are specifically a Slayer monster. So one of them, and I've talked about this for years, is skeletal wyverns. They don't have a superior, and I was thinking, how cool would it be to come out with a Jurassic wyvern? So it's like its flesh is like still there. It's like this kind of older version where it's not completely skeletal yet, but that's the thing that spawned that. I would love
awesome. That makes me want a skeletal wyvern kind of boss. So you have the superior and then you have a Slayer boss. That'd be awesome.
I am so down for that, actually. Skeletal wyverns were my jam in 2015. They were my absolute jam. Yeah.
They have the most hilarious little animations where they just kind of stand up and down with their wings up.
And then they do the little tail whack, and they kind of do like a little back thrust. Yeah.
So cute. No, that'd be fucking awesome. I feel like we do have a few kind of skeletal. In terms of skeletal bosses, I guess you have Vetion, and then Baba is like half skeletal. But we don't have that much to offer in terms of that, which feels like such a fantasy trope to do, like big skeletal things. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, but Baba is actually the exact idea I was thinking of, like a Jurassic wyvern type thing, which flesh is rotting off, kind of. Oh,
that's so good.
A skeletal wyvern boss even would be. I think that would actually be the next thing that people would want to see. I think Necreals have also been considered having a boss. The Gargoyle has a boss. Necreals would be a cool thing, and skeletal wyverns 100% would be amazing.
Oh yeah, they do have a few Slayer bosses actually. So I wouldn't be surprised if we can see something like that in the future. I'll definitely be pushing for it just because I want to draw a big skeletal wyvern.
That's perfect. Okay, so let's see. You are working on Varlamore 3. I'm assuming most of that's probably already done. You can't reveal it and stuff. But what's after that for you? I mean, what are you going to be working on, or what are you currently working on?
After that, they revealed the Blood Moon Rises quest, the vampire or the Vire storyline, which we'll be jumping on probably a bit later. But then there's, of course, Raids 4, which we're going to start thinking about more. But I've been jumping back on sailing, helping Grub out in that regards, drawing some bits and bobs there. So that's kind of the rotation of things that we're looking at right now.
That's cool. Raids 4, though. I know you guys can't share anything about that. That's kept under wraps, but that's exciting. And
we're so excited. Working on raids in general is just such an awesome thing to do because you can just go crazy with it.
And that's supposed to be next year, probably later next year, I'm imagining.
Yeah.
I think that was what was revealed at RuneFest. I can't remember everything. Again, like you said, it was a blur. It was a blur for me too. Too much stuff was revealed. So
yeah, I have no idea.
I'm pumped about that. I'm sure you are because of your experience with ToA, and I'm certain you're going to be playing a large part in the design of the rooms and everything else. And I'm sorry, you're gonna have to deal with the stress again of dealing with best in slot rewards coming out, and dealing with the community's outrage, and yeah, it's just
Oh,
not.
it's all right.
Okay.
It's such a small part of the job in comparison to all the good things. You do get like in contrast to the negative feedback we get from the passionate players. You do get a lot of love from the players who are happy, and it's that kind of love that makes it so motivating to work on. I remember after RuneFest seeing everyone in one place just so excited about everything in the game and everything around the game and the community. It was just like, shit, this is awesome. Imagine, it's just so awesome to be a part of something so big.
How do you feel now after 3 years working at Jagex?
I feel like what Old School provides you with is a limitation of design, like really condensed down to the pure essence of what the design is. And it makes you, when I draw for my own stuff, it makes me really think about, it almost strips back the detail of the design in my mind to the basic shapes that I'm used to seeing in Old School. So it's really helped with my sense of design, which has been awesome, and my sense of 3D form, because every concept has to like make sense in 3D because it's almost like a blueprint to how they do the models in the game. So it's helped me with a lot of my perception of like simplifying a lot of art fundamentals and design fundamentals in a way, which is awesome. But it's also given me like a massive inspiration to work on art outside of work as well, because we don't get to render anything. It's like all lines and flat color, and you don't get to take it a lot further than that. So it leaves me with this hunger.
Mm. So how much of your day really is focused on, like, so after work, are you also just doing other art stuff just as your own passion?
Yeah, I jump straight into my own drawings after finishing drawing for work,
I
and
love that.
it's an amazing way to spend life, to be honest.
That's so cool. I think it's cool picking the brain of an artist. It's just do you have any other interests that are not exactly drawing and rendering related, but more other type of art? I mean, are you into music and other things? I feel like when I'm talking with artists, they really have passions even outside of their main core stuff. They're just more creative in general.
Yeah, a bit of multiple things, to be honest. But I'm very into films, and I have a dream to make a film one day, or at least some short films. So I spend a lot of time watching films as well. But in terms of other types of art, it does mostly go in drawing. Sometimes traditional, sometimes on paper. But I used to be a dancer, and I used to be into singing. So I feel like an artist just is a lifestyle to explore all forms of self-expression.
Yeah. Okay. It must be that kind of creative brain of just you're more into just the arts in general. Have you? Might be a personal question. Have you ever struggled with like math and science and all the other stuff? Have you always just gravitated toward like creative outlets?
Yes. Yeah, I said in the beginning of the podcast that it was evident quite young that I was an artist, and that was because I was really bad in a lot of other subjects. It wasn't for me, especially maths. I almost failed. And I like saying that I don't need to know math, I'm an artist, but um,
I love that. It sounds. I mean, the fact that you were able to pursue art as well. I don't know, what your family situation would be like, but it does sound like you had a family that encouraged you. I mean, I feel like with most people, not most people, but I will say, like, even because I was kind of into art and creativity and stuff like that when I was a kid, but it never felt like I was encouraged enough to really pursue it, because it
yeah.
felt like it wasn't something you could pursue. This was not going to pay the bills.
That's the caveat of it. I was lucky in the fact that I had a really really supportive family, and especially my dad. He actually helped a bit with the design of the new Delve bus for Varlamore 3 as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I've had a supportive family my whole life. They kind of knew, they saw my math grades and they saw that I could draw, and were like, "All right, okay, we're not going to push her to do something she can't do, obviously." So I was so grateful, and I went into fine art and architecture when I was a bit younger, just to keep exploring it, and I'm so grateful of that, to be honest. That's not every artist can say they had that support.
That's wonderful. That's so cool. And now you're just thriving, and it sounds like you're really just doing what you want to do.
Oh,
And
it's awesome. It's the dream.
not only is it like your own passion, but you're also designing something that millions of people love. So like it's just so cool. I just think it's just amazing what you're doing, and
Oh,
keep it up.
it's incredible. Thank you, man. It feels like a dream every day. I feel like what a truly bizarre feeling to be working on something like this.
That's amazing. Okay, well, Mod Jerv, I don't want to keep you any longer. You've given me enough of your time this afternoon, and I really do appreciate you coming on and really sharing, just from the heart, like the things that you've been working on over the years. And I am genuinely, I know I've said it so many times, I'm so excited for just what's to come with the game. I think we are living in the golden era, and so the combination of just the passion that all the devs are showing, and the art team and the developers and even the community managers, like I feel like you guys have such great like camaraderie, and it just feels like you guys are really connected, and you guys do a great job listening to the community. The community can definitely have its negative spots, but I think you guys really are killing it. And so I always want to just share my appreciation to you guys. You guys are absolutely wonderful, and the team, I could not ask for a better just dev team and dev team, art team, everybody at Jagex, at Old School. I think you guys are just doing really good stuff.
Thank you so much. That's awesome. I also couldn't ask for a better team. They're awesome to work with. We're all quite close.
Awesome. Well, I'm gonna have your links in the description, so I'll ask you for those after the call, but I'm going to have everything you want provided down in the description. So those listening, go check out her links. And pretty sure that's it for me. So if you have any last words, we can wrap things up.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was awesome to actually just go and walk through everything, because there's so much you don't get to share about the thought process behind why some design choices are made. And you asked some excellent questions about the actual art process, which I wasn't expecting you talking about, like something being symmetrical or talking about the impact of something being designed a certain way. And that kind of stuff is like golden juice to be able to talk about. So thank you. Thank you.